All right. You ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome to What the Biz, where we talk about building successful businesses, balancing life, and all the WTB in between. With your hosts,
I'm Brigitte Vector.
And I'm Dan Prochko. All right. Another week. What's up? How you doing, Brigitte?
Hello. You know what? I was doing really good today until you sent me a text with a notification of one of our favorite meeting spots that they're about to change the restaurant, and I'm sad.
No, it's such a bummer because it's one of those places. It's like that perfect standby, that perfect place to go when you just need a low key lunch meet with someone. It can be social, it can be business, and it's closing, and it's such a bummer.
Yes, I know. I'm like,
That's
what
my
is
favorite.
this?
Yeah, they have my favorite chicken sandwich, and it's closing, and I don't like it.
Well, thankfully they still have their other location, so I'm just gonna hold
Yeah.
out that they don't announce anything with that. Then
It is a much longer drive for you. It's a much longer trip for you to get to the other places, though.
It's worth it, though.
I can confirm. That's true. It is definitely worth it. Oh,
Yeah.
That's funny. So, anything else new
what's
this week?
new?
Anything good?
No.
Yeah. What is new? So I think it's just going to be like every week I'm going to give an update of where I'm at on the book. I've got the whole book outlined. I voiced half of it and started transcribing that for polish. And I think I got the intro and the first chapter done. So it's like, we're getting there. It's on its way. I hope I don't talk about it every week. I still want there to be some surprise at the end that it's done, but it feels good to have motion on that and get further along.
I love it. I can't wait to hear it. I love hearing that the momentum is happening, because I don't know. I feel like you and I both understand, as business owners, we have all these things we want to do, and sometimes time just does not play nicely with us. And I am so happy to hear
Totally.
that you're making it happen.
I'll say Jenny's a bit frustrated, or maybe probably not. I'm just maybe projecting some things, but it's like I go everywhere with my notepad, my remarkable tablet, and it's got all my notes for the book. And it's like 5 minutes of downtime. I'm in there working on outline and adding extra notes for the voiceover and stuff. And it's like, Dan, we're at lunch right now together. Can you talk? And it's just like, oh, sorry. It's just just any moment I got, I'm pulling it out and just trying to finish some things. So it's kind of funny doing that everywhere.
It came into my mind. I can't help it.
Yeah. It just, a brainwave. I had to get it down.
It's like the whole thing about you have some of your best thoughts in the shower or other places where you can't actually write them down. I remember
Totally.
I was sitting in this training group and somebody brought that up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that has that experience. I need a waterproof board or something.
No, seriously, it happens to me all the time. It's the most inopportune moments. I might even be hanging out with friends or whatever. We're joking around a bonfire, and this idea hits me, and bam, phone's out. I'm just writing all this stuff down, and Jenny's looking at me like, "Are you upset?" Because I got this hugely scrunched, focused face, trying to get this idea out, in this fun social moment. I look like the angriest person in the world typing things. So yeah.
You're like, no, I just had a wonderful thought. Glad to know that your thought face is an angry face.
Oh, it totally is. I look like I'm the angriest person in the world when I'm deep in thought, and it could be furthest from the truth.
Yeah.
Couldn't be further from the truth. I'm actually the happiest person in the world that I just had that brainwave, but my focus face is just, it's intense. That's all. It's intense.
Nice.
How about you? What's new in Brigitte land?
Oh man, I don't know. We're just here. We're surviving. I am counting down the days till my new employee starts. So the rest of us are kind of just keeping it together.
I was just going to ask, have they started yet and whatnot? Because I know that's a pretty big role. So not yet. Okay.
1 month.
1 month. Ooh, that's exciting. Can't wait. Happy for you. That's great.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
He had some audit things to close out with his previous role. So we are being patient, but this month we're feeling it because we've signed some new clients. We have a lot going on that we want to roll out. We're working on setting up your QuickBooks course to make it really easy for new business owners. And I want to get that done. And so I have a lot of things on the docket and looking forward to myself having the time to get it done.
That's awesome. Really awesome. Cool. Well, so speaking of all this leads to customer experience. We're putting all these courses out, we're putting out, content. I'm working on this book, and everything. And, this is part of our series. This is part 2 of our series. If you missed the intro, check out the last episode. So really we're talking about, the 4 areas of your business you need to focus on if you're feeling a slowdown. These are all pretty much probably fundamentals anyway, that, any business should really focus on at any time, but today talking about customer experience. And I know we were both really excited about this one because we both had some pretty bad experiences in the past, whether it be with our own vendors or I know I made a mistake with a client or two, like, oh man, I could have done that way better. And then I'm spending the next few months making all of that up, and it just feels horrible. But in the end, they feel taken care of, and that's good. And you have them for a long, long period of time. But I know what we're going to talk is beyond onboarding. But where does it feel right to start to you? What do you think?
Well, I love this one because I know often when people are feeling the downturn, they forget to turn to their existing clients. And if you've done certain pieces very well, they should be happy customers, right? And so they should be a natural source of, referring people to you. And the saying about first impressions, right? Like you don't get a second chance at a first impression. So I always say beyond sales and, getting those sales, you should have a perfect, and I use perfect, loosely, but the best onboarding experience that you can have for your customers, and continuously refine it too, because there's no such thing as perfect. But that first impression.
I'm with you. Outcomes from having a great customer experience. You hit it. Referrals. I think longer client lifespans. That they're with you longer, which means they're worth more. Your clients are all worth more, for every client you sign. What else? Brand authority and trust goes way up when you have great brand experiences, because, people feel like they're in good hands because you've done the right things throughout that lifespan. But, and there's one piece here that I think many people don't talk about. And we started talking about the client side and the growth side. There's the, when you have the right customer experience documented, your team is actually able to deliver better because all of the expectations are clarified as to what has to happen. So in the end, you get a better team too. Like there's no bad thing here when you talk about customer experience.
Correct. I love that you brought the team into it, because that is definitely overlooked, because sometimes that's something that we as business owners forget to train on, right? Like it isn't always forefront of our mind, because we know how we're bringing customers in. Team members that have been with us for a while typically know what that is, but newer team members, or even team members that don't do it all the time, it's a great way to solidify your culture and what you want your customer experience to be. So if that's something that can be shared across the board, absolutely. What I'm curious on your take or your spin on the customer onboarding experience for you guys in your business.
Yeah, I believe it or not, I go way before they're even a client for this. There's really 2 questions. As I started preparing for today, I was thinking about it. There's 2 questions that I always bring up to myself, and it's, what do you want your clients to feel, and what has to happen at each stage of their life cycle for them to feel that. And there's a lot that goes into it. They're 2 pretty simple questions, but it takes a lot of planning. But if you think about those 2, you pretty much will ensure that a customer or future customer, client, lead, the past customer, et cetera, that they have this experience with your brand that is exactly what you want it to be. And hopefully that's a positive thing. So I think about, pre-sales. What do I want them to feel as as they become aware of our brand? That's usually, like we were just saying, referrals. So if I'm creating a brand that's going to generate referrals, how do I want my clients, past clients or prospects that have engaged with, how do I want them to talk about us? Have I presented myself in that way? And one way I know how that works is that when people come to us as a referral, they talk to us with certain language that echoes all those things that I'd hoped my referral partners and people would say about us. We're coming to you because we hear you can measure everything, or we're coming to you because we want to reduce costs, or in terms of like marketing costs, not fees, but or we're coming to you because we hear you communicate really well. Like there's all these things that I hear and get echoed back. And then it moves into the sales process. How do I want them to experience our brand through the sales process? What is discovery, pitching, quoting? What does that all feel like? Because man, nobody likes a high pressure sales environment, and then again, we do have to sell, like we have to ask for it. But if it's done in a way that is just, I want the money and that's all that matters, then you're not going to get the sale. And then people start thinking of you the wrong way. So I think about quoting, discovery, and at the end of the sales phase, as we lead toward onboarding, contracts and payments. I think about those a lot because I've gone through various phases with contracts. I've had here's the PDF, you figure out how to sign it. Let me tell you, that is a horrible customer experience. Mostly because, I don't know about you, Brigitte, I don't know a single client that has a fax or scan machine anymore. So getting them to print and sign it and send it back is a pain. So we had to think about that one quite a bit and finally get an online tool that allowed online signatures. And then lastly, payments. Fees are a thing, but finding those payment processes that are easy, at least to get that first payment. And then we can work with the client through onboarding to get the right process set up for the rest. And so, that leads us to onboarding, where I know you have a lot of ideas. I just shared a lot, and I do have onboarding as well, but it's like, I really start way back and really think at the beginning, that referral piece of how do we want to be presented? How do we want people talking about us so that when I get to talking with them finally, or my team does, we're hearing the right things all the way through, making it easy for them to become a client and feel comfortable and good about it.
Well, and that's all such a great point, because I think we've all experienced brands that do the sweet talking, right? Like your initial feelings of them end up not matching the company or the brand at all in the end. And if you can just be true to yourself, right, from beginning to end, not only does it make your life easier, but there's no surprises for that, the customer or client anywhere in between. So that is such a good point about how do we want to represent ourselves and show up to those clients in the beginning so that it carries all the way through their experience.
You make a good point. I just think I don't want to be too conspiratorial, but I think big telephone and internet companies, they're like, oh yeah, this introductory offer, or get internet as low as $50 a month. And then 2 months later, they jack you up 4 times the amount of whatever it was. Cause the small print, or you're on a cell phone plan. Maybe it's not unlimited, or you thought it was, cause it seemed like all those things. Oh, horrible stuff. All that stuff just irks me.
Yes. We wined and dined you, and now here's the real thing.
yeah.
It's
Face mask removed.
Yes.
Right.
So I love the beginning pieces. We definitely implement those, and even to the point where some of our questions go into cultural fit, right? Does the company that we are looking to potentially offer services for, do they even match what we want? So then there isn't a mix match, as things are going and progressing through onboarding and then through service delivery. But we try to make it as streamlined. And I think where we really try to stick out is the onboarding communication. So we've implemented a checklist. Do I wish that it was more, how do I put this? Technology driven? Probably, because right now it's living in an adaptable Google form. It works great. It works fine. Probably something we'll end up updating. But softwares, I don't know if you've noticed this, softwares are also always changing. So it makes it hard for us to sometimes get this really great thing, payment processing, one of those things.
Oh, God.
They're always changing, right? And so we just stick with the nice the Google side right now on ours, but it's a checklist and it says, here's what you're responsible for. Here's what we're responsible for. And at any point we can both log into that and see kind of who's at what point, what still needs to be happening. So when I think of finances, just because we're in that world, and most brands are going to have this for any onboarding, trust is a big component, right? So you want to build the trust early. And if you can just communicate of status, even if it's taking a little bit longer than what you thought for onboarding, if everybody's just being communicated with, that really helps. overall. And it just keeps a good taste in their mouth about your brand. And it solidifies that they made the right decision. Because buyer's remorse can be a real thing too with people that choose to work with a company. If it doesn't go as well as they expected or what they were hoping for, they can certainly have remorse about working with you. And that is not going to help with that referral side.
Oh, fact. I have 2 notes that I have written down, from you. So it's clear expectation setting and just have clear communications and as often as needed, maybe even more often than needed, to be honest. Because you're right. There's nothing worse than starting with a new vendor or a partner, new client, and then you deliver service and then you get that call or you get that email that's just like, hey, I thought we said this was going to happen. And it's just like, no. Oh my God, I thought and now you're like backtracking and trying to like live up to the expectation that was set that you didn't intend to have set. So yeah, no.
Yep. And it gets hard. Like when you're mapping out, service agreements and expectations or, what you're going to deliver, everybody seems to speak differently. So I feel like those conversations are important to have maybe more than once of like, okay, just to clarify, like this is what we're doing, this is what's included and here's how the process to get all of that implemented is going to look.
Yeah. That's interesting. The onboarding process. So we have something similar. We have our project management software and we've got our onboarding tasks, and all of them take place within 1 to, the first 7 days, et cetera. We try to get everything kind of done, mostly in an onboarding call. We have a 2-hour call with every new client where it's like, okay, we're going to work together to get us access to the things we need. We're going to sit on this call together and we're going to redefine all of those expectations around budget, around outcomes. Because we did it in the sales process, but that might have been a couple weeks ago, and all of our communications have just been in preparation of this day. So let's just solidify it again. So we do all of that yet a second or third time by that point. And then after that, there's, the tasks in our project software. And at each step, we pretty much are communicating with the client. This just got complete. Here's what to expect because of that. Here's what just finished. Here's what you should be seeing pretty soon. And then we turn our focus to them being a client, which I really believe the first 90 days are kind of the most key. I don't know if you have a benchmark in that realm, but I really feel like if you do the first 3 months right, you pretty much can keep them as a client for a really long time. Those first 90 days really set the tone for everything else.
Absolutely. And I will also mention, so we were not perfect in the beginning with our onboarding.
Oh God, same. Holy cow, yeah.
And we've had a lot of like live and learn moments where we now also do the same thing. So we're unique in the fact that we typically end up with access to some sort of the accounting side from the beginning to do the quoting process. And more likely than not, we are normally performing cleanup services for a lot of the clients coming to us. But when it comes to that closing out and then onboarding into like the reoccurring financial services, we're like you guys, that initial onboarding meeting is so crucial. Like we spend our time, we also have a project management software, but we spend our time actually documenting, like, here are the processes and systems, like who owns this, who is doing each piece of this. And so it's just kind of outlined. And that isn't something that we had an onboarding meeting, but not as structured as we do at this point. Because we spend that time to actually go back through the service agreement and then identifying each piece of, what's happening in the accounting cycle. So it's something that the team and I have actually talked about in the last few months, going back to our original clients, because we have many since we've started. And going back through that and saying, hey, let's do a refresher of processes. Let's do a check-in and make sure that, everybody's still on the same page. Everybody's still talking the same language. What is working for you guys with processes, what is not, and let's revamp. So it isn't that you can't onboard again. And I wouldn't call it a full onboarding, but it's a great way to check in with existing clients too, and kind of take them back through some of that initial process. Probably not the whole thing, but good components of it.
We do the same thing every year. We have our realignment of the goals, and we just pretty much do a recheck in at the end, beginning of every year, where we talk about here's what happened. All right, here's new processes. Here are new things we have in place. Here's what we've added into the service that you're going to get now. Or hey, here's things that are changing, or a pricing change, et cetera. And that pretty much happens every year with our clients, and it's so key because, like you said, throughout the year, so many things change, and it's not always like you don't remember, did I communicate them or did I not? There's a lot of moving pieces is all I'm getting at. And having that ability to level set again, super important. So there's a book that I read a while ago that it's about time I need to reread it, but it's called, and I don't know if you've read this, but it's called Never Lose a Customer Again, Joey Coleman. It's all about those first 90 days of having a client. And really setting that expectation. And for me, some of the things that I find help in those first 90 days for us that we have in place are make sure that all the right meetings are scheduled ahead of time in those 3 months, communicating pre every meeting as to what's going to happen, those agendas, then holding those meetings on time, and then following up after those meetings with anything that happened in them. Like that's number one key, because that sets clear communication. I tend to find that so long as communication is really clear and honest and open, the rest pretty much falls into place. Because if we have good service, we have good service. There's going to be results. And it's just so long as that communication takes place in a clear, structured way, then you're really going to set yourself up for success.
I love it. I'm curious when you mentioned the follow-up. So I know a lot of my clients and others in the industry have started to utilize the AI transcribing for when they're doing client meetings and targeted action items following that. Have you guys started to implement any of those pieces in your process?
The short answer is no, honestly. No. It's not that we're not looking at it. It's more like there's only a few elements that really come out of a meeting that have to go into that follow-up email. And we have a meeting agenda document that we create for every client every month. And while we're in the meeting, we're actually writing things into the document, and we're both in it because it's a Google Doc. So both the client and I are in it, and we're both writing either simultaneously or mostly just me taking, or a member of our team taking notes. And so it's basically that document. We just take that, and that just goes into a follow-up email. It's really that's not that difficult. It's not like we've got 7 different people where everybody's talking so quickly. There's nobody keeping track of notes. So for what we do with clients every month, at the moment, that would be overkill. I definitely see the value there, though. I mean, board meetings, or when you got large groups of people brainstorming and other creative elements, I find that's probably hugely valuable.
Yeah, we have not started implementing it yet. Even some of our smaller clients in like one-to-one meetings, they are using it and rave about it. We use Asana for all of our client tasks, and we have a meeting right in there. Like same thing, we kind of type the notes and then we copy and paste out of that anything that needed to be followed up on. But I don't know, when I get some more time in my days, I may end up taking a look to see what the whole AI side can alleviate, like take out of my workload here. But
yeah, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here because we talked about AI because I'm writing the book. I'm using AI to help me with it, not do the writing, not like the original thought, all the data, all mine, all of it. Okay. But I am using it to help with editing. And it was interesting because I was using a tool. I'm not going to name it. I should, maybe one day I might name it. I'm not, but there was this tool that billed itself as, we are your book writing AI. Like it's made for that, supposedly. And you go in, you put in your outlines, you click generate, and supposedly it writes your entire book for you. It was horrible. It was so bad. It was really, really bad. Like it was like you couldn't even polish it to be good. It was so bad. So that's one reason I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to name it, but I just figured, let's just try it. Let's just see. It is my thoughts, my outline, it's all my thoughts. Just give me words for it. No, it was so bad.
Well, especially if they branded themselves that way. Like you branded yourself as that.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm on a trial. It was like a week-long trial. Use it for a couple days just to see if it would work. Not a chance. It's part of one of those like download my or buy my AI book or how to write a book with AI, and I'll give you access to this for a few days or whatever kind of thing. It just wasn't there. Now I will say I am using AI for editing, and it's really, really good. So I can totally see for transcribing, totally works because we actually are using just Google Recorder for vocal recording for the book, or I am, and it transcribes automatically, and it gets it so well. So I can totally believe these AI tools are really, really valuable for certain types of meetings. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about my last 20 some years of marketing experience, and thinking about what some of the companies I've worked for or clients I've worked with, what they did for customer experience, and was going to kind of just share some ideas. I just had some things that hit me. I worked in IT for a good while, about 7 years, and I remember that with that company, they were really big on wanting to make sure that anything that we put out constantly gave value. And so this is before the sale and after the sale. Things that we did were we went so far as to create a professional organization for IT professionals. And that organization would hold expos every year, and then also would organize meetups a couple times a quarter, or even once a month. And so it was our way of giving back to the community and connecting people together. And in doing that and being that company that organized everything, that helps create this experience for everybody that was like, oh, these are the connectors. They know people. They understand IT. They're the authority because they're bringing us all together, et cetera. So that was a really, really fun thing that we did. We had a cleaning clients. They tend to give coupons or discounts for longevity. You have your loyalty, your loyalty perks, as it were. That's a form of customer experience. So I think about that quite a bit. Another cleaning company started an awards event because they wanted to celebrate organizations that were impacting their local community. And they wanted to be seen as the cleaning company that cared about the local community. So they created this award, not just for that, but they believed in it. And so they felt it really aligned with their mission of impacting lives and wanting to celebrate other companies that did the same thing in the community. And so they created a whole awards show that would celebrate nonprofits that made an impact in the community. And then the last one was, we've got a comedy client. They just want all of their followers to have fun. And so they're just always putting out fun, quirky copy, little jokes and other pieces of content, so that when people come across them, they have a positive and fun experience with the brand. And that then translates into great experiences in the theater that we've all thought about, et cetera. That was a big one too, is like, what is the theater experience? I remember multiple weeks we'd sit down with diagrams of what's the theater going to look like? Where's the chairs? Where are they going to be? Where's the bar? What's the flow of people as they walk in? And all of that to try and make it as easy as possible for the budget they had and where they're at, and that all evolves. So those are some of the things that I've seen some of our clients and other companies do that kind of came to mind as I was thinking about this.
That's a great list. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's just so important to have that thing that sticks out, but that is still true to who you are as a brand, right? I would say for us personally, I kind of fall in that line of, and actually this was in a networking group that I was part of. They kind of asked, like, what is your key to success or something like that. And I've always just said, wherever I go, I just hope to provide value. So whether it is just like being friendly, it doesn't even have to be anything astronomical, right? I just want to be one of those people that tries to provide value or helps where I can and provides the insights. And like, we've just that's how people are falling into our world too. So finding us through, free webinars that we're doing, or informational pieces, or like events that we're doing. And so building that trust, then if they're seeing that before they work with us, they should still see that when they start working with us. So that's why we kind of find that so important to continue that experience through onboarding and even after onboarding. So I love the companies that are doing all of those extra things, right? Because it is important to them. And it helps reflect the good brands. So I like that.
Well, that seems like a good point as any to kind of just ask, what do you got coming up?
Oh, actually, so this will be aired after this happens, but this month's free kind of educational webinar, I am touching on all the changes to salaries and overtime because it has been a big question coming up and nobody wants to get into any payroll trouble. So I always give it with my asterisks of like, I am not an HR professional, but I can guide you in the right direction. So
Right.
yeah, this month's webinar will be around that. Just kind of talking through
Awesome.
some of those changes. Yep. What about you?
Still just going book. Working hard on sales and traveling out to my brother-in-law's engagement. It's a surprise.
Ooh.
This is going to air afterwards, so it's not like if they listen, I'm going to ruin anything. This is probably going to air afterwards, so that's not giving anything away. And so when I come back, you'll find out whether or not they said yes. I'm pretty sure it'll happen. That's not an issue. You don't plan a secret surprise unless it's going to happen. So we're traveling in for that, and that's exciting. So yeah,
that's really awesome. Well, good. Enjoy.
Awesome. Well, another one in the can. We're going to continue our series of the 4 areas to focus on in a downturn next week. We're talking about capacity operations execution. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining in.